Good evening. Welcome to South Asia Newsline. I'm Lipakshi Khurana. Here are the top stories we're tracking for you on Tuesday, the 10th of November. Indian government introduces FDI reforms across 15 sectors. NAP yet to accomplish satisfactory results on counter-terrorism, observes Pakistan leadership. Trade and investment to top agenda in Modi's UK visit. Now for all the details, the Indian government has announced reforms touching 15 sectors, easing foreign direct investment or FDI in areas including mining, civil aviation, defence, construction. The norms related to investment by companies owned and controlled by NRIs has also been relaxed. The major reforms push, being billed as the biggest in the FDI regime, comes a day before Prime Minister Narendra Modi leaves for his first visit to the United Kingdom, focused predominantly on business and investment. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be in the UK for a 3-day visit, which will culminate with a mass rally and firework display at the Wembley Stadium on Friday.
Narendra Modi will be the first Indian Prime Minister to visit Britain in almost a decade. It's also a significant trip for Mr. Modi himself. He had been boycotted by Britain for 10 years over the 2002 sectarian riots in India's Gujarat state while he was Chief Minister there. Britain was among the first Western countries to end its boycott of Mr. Modi. This visit aims to reboot trade ties which have been under strain.
Clearly, if the Prime Minister were to interact with the business and financial circles of the UK, put across our policies, our economic policies with a degree of clarity and authority and credibility, this does affect the investment perception of India, which at the end of the day really means jobs in India.
But Mr. Modi's UK trip has been clouded by domestic politics. It comes on the heels of a crushing defeat for his Bharatiya Janata Party in the assembly elections in the eastern Indian state of Bihar. Political commentators say Mr. Modi should focus more on the domestic agenda rather than foreign policy.
The sum total of Mr. Modi's diplomacy is zero. Nothing comes out of these visits except a bit of chest thumping here and there.
But the BJP says foreign policy cannot be held hostage to domestic politics.
Foreign relationship between Government of India and any other sovereign government is not dependent on how elections take place in various states of India.
While in Britain, Mr. Modi is slated to meet Queen Elizabeth, Prime Minister David Cameron and business leaders. He's also scheduled to address the Parliament. Mr. Modi's visit culminates in a mass rally and fireworks display at the Wembley Stadium. He's expected to speak to some 60,000 people from the Indian diaspora.
Nepal has urged India to resume the supply of fuel and essential commodities to the landlocked country. Nepal is reeling under acute fuel shortage due to blockade of key trade points by minority Madhesi community opposing its new constitution.
Nepal's cabinet, headed by Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli, has passed a resolution asking India to ease the supplies of essential goods like medicines, gas and petroleum as fuel crunch continues to batter the country. The government urges the Indian government to contribute toward maintaining a cordial relation with Nepal by resuming fuel and essential commodities supply to Nepal. Prime Minister Oli's media advisor Pramod Dahel said, Nepal had blamed India for supporting the Indian origin Madhesi community that has been protesting against the adoption of the new constitution of the country. According to the Madhesis, the new charter fails to reflect their interests. But India has dismissed suggestions that it has imposed any embargo against the supplies to Nepal and has maintained that the obstruction was due to protest and unrest in Nepal. The protesters had blocked key trade posts along the Indo-Nepal border, causing a fuel crunch in the country. On Monday, the Office of the Prime Minister and Council of Ministers asked the agitating Madhes-based parties to seek solutions to their demands through dialogue.
The National Action Plan, or the NAP, has not been able to achieve desired results on counter-terrorism. A meeting convened by Pakistan government has observed. NAP was announced by the government in the aftermath of the Army public school attack in Peshawar last December.
The progress on the National Action Plan or the NAP on counter-terrorism continues to be marred by inadequate effort to implement some of its key elements, the Pakistan government observed on Monday. The focus of the meeting was to identify the areas where the progress was sluggish, a government source said. The meeting was presided over by Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif and was attended by Finance Minister Ishaq Dar, Interior Minister Chaudhry Nisar, Advisor on Foreign Affairs Sartaj Aziz and other senior officials. It was noted that terror financing, foreign funding of seminaries, proscribed organizations and sectarian groups, hate speeches and madrasa reforms were some areas which need strong action. It was observed that the mechanism for civil-military coordination on security issues too had been experiencing difficulties. The meeting also deliberated on the legal challenges to military courts. The courts were given power to try suspected terrorists after the heinous attack on an army-run school in Peshawar by Taliban gunmen. The government of Pakistan claims that hundreds of cases have been heard in the military courts since January. But there is limited information about the defendants or on the charges or evidence against them.
Rampant corruption in government departments in Gilgit-Baltistan has stalled development in the region, and the education sector is said to be the worst hit, where thousands of underqualified teachers are recruited with fake degrees. A report.
The standard of education is declining sharply in Gilgit-Baltistan, reason being widespread corruption in the education sector. According to reports, hundreds of thousands of teachers are inducted illegally. Among those, majority has either fake degrees or they are under or over age to meet the government's criteria.
दौर हुकूमत में बहुत ऐसी चीज़ें हो गई, इदारों में करप्शन उरूज पर पहुंची थी, यहाँ तक कि महकमे तालीम में जो है भर्तियाँ की गई, असातिज़ा जो भर्तियाँ की गई, जाली डिग्री होल्डर्स जो है वहाँ असातिज़ा भर्ती हो गए और कम तालीम याफ्ता अफराद मैट्रिक पास मैट्रिकुलेट जो है वहाँ पर महकमे तालीम में भर्ती हो गए.
Locals say no government has ever taken corrective measure to unravel the scams and blame the previous governments for the region's plummeting education standards.
रवायत को दोहराते हुए मौजूदा गवर्नमेंट के आते हुए ही गिलगित बल्तिस्तान के दर्जनों महकमों में जो है दर्जनों मुलाजिमीन की भर्तियाँ बगैर टेस्ट इंटरव्यू अमल में लाए जाने की इतलात भी इस वक्त मौसूली में बिलखुसूस महकमे सेहत में गुज़िश्ता दिनों बाज़ मुलाजिमीन की भर्तियों का भी एक जो है स्कैंडल मंजर-ए-आम पर इब्तदाई तौर पर पहुँचा है और देखते हैं आगे कि ये गवर्नमेंट क्या करने जा रही है और जो दावे कर रही थी उस पर अमल पैरा होते हैं या कि ये भी मुस्लिम लीग नून की तरह ही बेनकाब होते हैं.
Today, Gilgit-Baltistan is characterized by high dropout rates, but Islamabad seems to be least bothered. With falling education standards and dipping literacy rate, the dismal conditions are fueling a sense of deprivation among the residents of the region, which was illegally occupied by Pakistan 6 decades ago.
As a goodwill gesture before Indian festival Diwali, Sri Lanka has released 126 Indian fishermen who were arrested by its navy for allegedly fishing into the country's waters. In return, Indian authorities will be releasing 37 Sri Lankan fishermen from their custody. The release has come after both nations completed the formalities to release detained fishermen in each other's country. Both India and Sri Lanka share maritime borders and face the issue of poaching by each other's fishermen. The issue was discussed during Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Sri Lanka early in 2015. European Union observers have lauded Myanmar election as better than expected. Myanmar went to polls on Sunday in which the opposition National League for Democracy is expected to emerge as the winners.
European Union observers hail Myanmar's first free nationwide election in 25 years as better than expected. But they also added that more reforms were needed to ensure genuine elections takes place in the future. Myanmar had for the first time invited international observers to oversee elections.
Second issue, and you will find that both in our preliminary statement and in our press release, will be required in the future for truly genuine elections. And that is a reform of the legal as well as the constitutional framework. Internationally, it is clear that for a genuine election, at least one chamber of parliament must be elected at 100% of the seats. This, of course, has not been the case here, and that is something that remains to be addressed in the future for genuine elections.
Observers also called for greater transparency and more participation from women and minorities in future elections. Meanwhile, Aung San Suu Kyi's National League of Democracy or NLD has claimed victory in 82% of seats in the lower and upper houses of parliament. The official results are said to be not known for days. NLD has questioned the Election Commission for the slow release of results and has accused the government of intentionally delaying it.
It was a delight for car lovers as rare models of cars landed in India's eastern Siliguri town to take part in a vintage rally.
Car lovers from across the world took part in a vintage car rally starting from India's eastern Siliguri town to neighbouring Bhutan to boost cultural and traditional ties between the two countries. Around 40 participants from the United States, Australia, Belgium, Germany and Switzerland showed up for the rally over the weekend.
People coming in from all over the world, bringing their cars in from all over the world to drive a bit here in West Bengal and then up into Bhutan. So we've got 14 days driving in Bhutan, right from the west all the way into the Har Valley, round and then off through the east and finishing the rally in Assam.
For many, it was all about exploring new places.
And so we discover new friends, new people. It's no non-competitive rally, it's only to share some really great time, mixing the love of the cars and loving discovering countries.
The vintage car rally will cover a distance of almost 5,000 kilometers starting from Siliguri town and driving till Bhutan and then driving back to northeastern state of Assam. 21 cars ranging from vintage to pre-1969 classic cars are participating in the rally.
Well, that's the way it was in South Asia this evening. Before we conclude, the top stories once again. Indian government introduces FDI reforms across 15 sectors. NAP yet to accomplish satisfactory results on counter-terrorism, observes Pakistan leadership. And trade and investment to top agenda in Modi's UK visit. Now our viewers can watch the show on SouthAsiaNewsline.com. You can also visit us on Facebook.com/SAsiaNewsline and follow us on Twitter @SAsiaNewsline. That's all in tonight's edition. We'll see you same time tomorrow. Good night.